a day that will mean different things to different people. It's the day the foundation stone for a Ram temple in Ayodhya has been laid by Prime Minister Modi himself. It also marks the first anniversary of the abrogation of Article 370 in Kashmir. It's a day which will be a watershed moment for politics and religion in politics in India. Now, whatever your view may be, however you may look at this day, there is no doubt that it's an extremely significant one. So what we are going to attempt to do is bring you different viewpoints on why this day is memorable and important. It's important for worshippers and devotees of Lord Ram. It's important for those who have tracked the bloody and sometimes violent history of the fight that has led up to today. And it's also important for those who want to know what comes next. To speak on this, I'm joined by two very senior journalists today, Sharat Pradhan and Sanjeev Srivastava, both of whom have traced and tracked this event for several decades and every moment of it really. So welcome to the show and great to speak with both of you today. Sharat Pradhan, I want to start by asking the very simple question. Why is this day so significant and why is it so important?
It's because, it's more important not only for the BJP, which has seen its rise essentially on account of this whole issue and the way they took it to the forefront without more often than not including it in their election manifesto, yet pushing it in various ways. And today they have been able to arrive at and that's what Mohan Bhagwat said in as many words. 30 years ago, he was told by Balasaheb Deoras that, you need to really fight for it and spend 20, 30 years before you can achieve this. Remember that. And he said it aloud that, yes, it took us 30 years. And so, in 30 years, that is 1990, 92, the mosque was demolished. So, pushing their agenda and arriving at and taking it to their logical conclusion is what is the main achievement of the BJP today. And the fact that it has been done in Modi's time, and that's the reason that, all other people who were in the forefront of this movement for decades, they've been sidelined. The funny part was that Champat Rai, who's a recent entrant in this whole gamut, who's now the secretary of this trust, he announced day before yesterday in Ayodhya, and very blatantly, that saying that we have not invited Advani, Joshi, and Kalyan Singh, and of course using COVID as an excuse for and their old age as an excuse for keeping them away. But fact of the matter is that people did not want that anybody else should hog or share the limelight. So that the way things have moved, and that's why it becomes even more important.
So it's a culmination of a promise. It's a culmination of a promise that was made, a political promise that was made. But I think we would be looking at this in a very narrow prism if we saw it just politically. Sanjeev Srivastava, today we see voices almost in unison across the political spectrum, across intellectuals in commentary. It seems like there never was any kind of a vivad or dispute over having a Ram temple here in the first place. And remember, the Supreme Court verdict has come only last November. Today, the picture seems very different from what it was 10 years ago. Do you think that that is an important shift that we should note today?
See, we cannot overestimate or overemphasize the historical importance of today. When India's history will be written, like we read of the Mughal era or the Tughlaq, Khaljis, British Empire, today will be one of those days which will be read, or the last 20, 30 years will be read in history books as to how India changed, how the character of Indian polity changed. See what is happening, Tamanna. Let's put things in perspective. When Bharatiya Janasangh was formed, or the Hindu Mahasabha became Bharatiya Janasangh in the 1950s, what were their two principal mascots or slogans? The subtext was Hindu nationalism, but Ram Mandir, Article 370. What Modi has achieved is to deliver on both those two big slogans, big promises. The things which with the Hindu right identified, and once which the Hindu right was a fringe, is now the mainstream of Indian polity. So how things have changed, that is the significance of the day. Nobody will remember that Advani really led this Rath Yatra. He'll be also one of the footnotes, like the footnote will be of how the two men with Advani on those Rath Yatra, in that Rath Yatra, Pramod Mahajan and Narendra Modi, actually played the number two or the key lieutenant's role in BJP politics for the last 30 years. First 15 years it was Pramod Mahajan, and then it is Narendra Modi, last decade and a half. So these three men have really catapulted BJP or the erstwhile Janasangh into a different league, different zone in the pole position of the country's polity. And like for maybe the previous 100 years it was the Congress party, for the last few years we are seeing, and we don't know how long this phenomenon will last, BJP will be in the pole position. All the other political parties will be the other stars in the constellation, which will be trying to gravitate, position themselves as to the moves on the chessboard which will be put by the BJP. So Mr. Modi is in a completely unstoppable kind of a position right now. And it's remarkable how he has achieved it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, Sanjeev, I just want to get your view very quickly.
Whether or Kalyan Singh ji is there or not.
I just want to get your view very quickly. Yeah. Sure, but let's also remember we have a very young population. And this is a big story for today. But I just want to get a view from you, Sanjeev, when you're talking about Prime Minister Modi, about the speech he made. I mean, what he spoke after the entire ceremony. And I think that was also very important, where he seemed to make an effort to make this about peace overall, where he talked about maryada, about limitations, whether it was having the ceremony during COVID or the maryada in which devotees behaved even after the Supreme Court verdict. What do you think is the messaging that was coming out of that speech?
Mr. Modi is a master orator. When I used to work with the BBC, we used to have a system called master class by the best correspondent or by the best editor as to what is the way to report and to edit. He's the master orator. He should conduct global classes in oratory. See, Mr. Modi, when he speaks, he wins your heart. He wins your mind also, because you want to be convinced that he means every word of it. Only over a period of time one realizes that what Mr. Modi speaks, and I won't say what he does, but at least what his party does, are quite different things. So as an orator, as somebody who lays down the principles, so to say, for Indian body polity or body society, he is par excellence. You cannot ever find a fault with him, whether it was Sabka Saath, Sabka Vishwas, or whether those who don't vote for him are also his constituents, or whether it is today that how this is a message for peace and coming togetherness. It is what will happen on the ground which will decide, how his followers will see it. Mr. Modi cannot be ever faulted for what he speaks in public. It is what his party men do which we find fault with.
I'm short on time, so I'm keeping this. Yes. So let me bring that question to Sharat Pradhan, and I'm short on time, so this is the last one. Sharat Pradhan, what next? Do you think that we have seen the end of the dispute and controversy over Ram Mandir, the Ram Janmabhoomi movement? Now that is done, that is behind us. So what next then politically?
No, well, very true that it's the end of as far as the Ram Temple movement is concerned, it's over. And the temple is going to become a reality. And taking what Sanjeev said a little further, Modi was systematically emphasized repeatedly on 130 crore people. The idea was to send the message across, because this speech is going across the globe, that, he is concerned, he's so inclusive in his approach, and he is referring to all communities. I mean, obvious reference to Muslims. So, that is something he's very smart at. And as Sanjeev rightly pointed out, how his partymen behave in days to come will have to be seen. But let me tell you that even today, the manner in which they have scheduled the construction of the temple is also very well timed with the elections that are going to come over the next few years. Immediately, this is going to benefit the BJP in Bihar and Bengal,
Yeah.
and they make full use of it. When the first story is completed, UP will be up for state elections, and when the temple reaches the completion stage,
Tamanna, if I can have one more sentence, just one more sentence I wanted to say, apart from other things.
Okay.
Today,
yes, Sanjeev.
Today, in terms of history, will also be seen as a day, whether constitutionally or legally, but today we have also become, in a kind of, I won't say positive or negative, but factually, as some kind of where the Hindu primacy in the country has been established.
Agreed. Yes. And that's what they're reveling in.
Well, there are so many angles to this story. We'll have to see if the Ram temple anymore continues to be a political symbol. Definitely one of faith. For a lot of Indians, there is no denying that. Will it continue to be a political symbol after the goal that was stated several decades ago has today effectively been achieved? That's what we will have to look out for. Thank you so much, Sanjeev and Sharat Pradhan, for joining us today. Well, let's move on to the aspect of how the temple will look and the construction. That's a very interesting story in itself. It will be built over 10 acres. Larsen and Toubro is doing the construction, and my colleague Vikram Oza is reporting after speaking to the architect of the temple on how it will look.
A big day in Ayodhya and the rest of the country. The Bhumi Pujan of the Ram temple led by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The focus now quickly shifts to the construction of the temple before it opens its doors to accommodate as many as 80,000 to 1 lakh visitors a day. And as per the temple's architect Ashish Sompura, the project should be complete in 3 to 3.5 years, with L&T replacing the 3 contractors who were earlier designated to build it. So how does the architect reckon working with L&T?
They are not acquainted with the temple, traditional temple architecture. That is definitely there. The construction wise is completely a solid stone and just a brickwork. It's not, steel is not going to be used in this. So that is the biggest problem with this kind of a company, which is they are acquainted with the steel, RCC work and all this stuff. So I have to make them understand, like, no steel is going to be used there. Only the stone structure will be there. The huge stones will be placed one on another with the male-female joints and everything. And again, these companies are a little bit more cautious about the earthquake and all that stuff. So we have to make them understand, like, how we are going to consider those things also in the construction matter.
While work on an architectural plan for the temple were drawn out 30 years ago, after the Supreme Court's verdict, the design went through major alterations because it became double the original size. From approximately 16 to 18,000 square feet, it went up to 30,000 square feet. The immediate plan now is to complete the foundation in the next 3 to 4 months and incorporate the work done between 1992 and 1996 on 70,000 cubic feet of the temples. Vikram Oza in Mumbai for ET Now.